What's that?
You ever get off your own thoughts and relax your spirits and leave me?
Fortunately, I sit in the office. It's pretty boxed in. So mine's typically the wall or a picture.
You've been traveling more?
Are you going to do tomorrow? All right, guys. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Heather Davis. Edie Davis. Here. Jim Dodrell. Here. Brian Ellis.
Here.
Jessica Griffith. Dave Mamba. Brian Holman. Vic Mays. Here. David Mills.
Here.
Jacob Pack.
Here.
John Hawley. Steve Perry.
Here.
Adam Sigmund.
Here.
Travis Fuller.
Here.
Lynn Yeager.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to take action on the meeting minutes from October.
Motion to approve is presented.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an item for citizens' concerns. Obviously, there's several members of the public who are here. This agenda item is specific to anything that is not on the agenda. So if you are here to speak to something that we will be addressing on the agenda, it will be done when that item is on the floor. So does anyone have any concerns that are not addressed with what's on the agenda? Okay, so the next item is the zoning amendment for FDB.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Okay. FBD LLC desires to rezone parcel 94 of tax map 162 from C1 suburban commercial to C2 high-density commercial. The property is 36.0394 acres, is located off Winfield Road, which is Route 817, is in Fraser's Bottom, and has 975 feet of frontage off this route. The rezoning request number is 2023-03. The request is to be considered based on authorities, facts, and criteria such as Chapter 8A of West Virginia Code, Putnam County Adopted Plans, and the Adopted Zoning Ordinance. The comprehensive plan entitled Putnam County Community Plan 2014, Bridging to the Future, is one of those documents. The plan's mission statement is continuing the vision of improving the quality of life to make Putnam County a better place to live, work, and play. Chapter 5 of that plan is Attachment A in your packet. The US 35 Corridor Management Plan and its goals of ensuring beneficial and acceptable future land use patterns, preserving capacity of roadways, protection of public investment, along with ensuring Putnam County and West Virginia achieve economic sustainability from the investment in Route 35 relocation. That should be considered, and a portion of that document is in Attachment B. The Tays Valley Land Use Plan and its objectives of land use conflicts, land use opportunities, aesthetics, beautification, along with administration and enforcement is also a consideration. That's Attachment C. And for your convenience, full copies of each of these adopted plans are located at the President's seat. Article 150.02 of the zoning ordinance defines amendment as any repeal, modification, or addition to a regulation, any new regulation, any change in the numbers, shape, boundary, or area of a district, or any repeal or abolition of any map, part thereof, or addition thereto. Article 2000 of the zoning ordinance, amendments and hearing procedures for a rezoning request is detailed in your packet. The C1 article is included as attachment D. It is the intent of the C1 Suburban Commercial District to provide for retail businesses and services that serve primarily the residents of suburban areas of the county. This district shall allow convenience and personal service establishments generally compatible through proper site planning with residential uses. By limiting the number of uses and intensity of development, the surrounding residential and commercial property values shall be enhanced by protecting them from excessive levels of lighting, noise, or other nuisances. The C2 article is in your packet as attachment E. It is the intent of the C2 district to provide for a wide range of commercial uses whose nature of business requires convenient automobile and truck access. Such uses must be accessible to the county as well as the entire region and must be planned in a way to promote and protect commercial and working areas. The timeline and facts section of your summary begins to discuss detailed facts of the request. A copy of the submitted application and disclosure statement is included as attachment F. A plat showing the 36.0394 acre parcel is included as attachment G. The deed is attachment H. The plat is recorded in Book F, page 218, and the deed in Book 620, page 754 of the Putnam County Clerk's Office. The subject parcel is one parcel away, about 475 feet, from a Putnam County Tax Increment Financing District that's better known as a TIF. A TIF district is a financial tool used by local government to fund economic development, infrastructure, or community improvement projects. It is designed to utilize the growth in taxes created by business activity to finance critical improvements. A TIF designation can encourage growth and investments that improve tax values and, in turn, ultimately grow revenue. Attachment I shows the existing TIF district in yellow, and the subject parcel tonight is outlined in blue. 2 current zoning maps are included as attachment J. Again, the subject parcel is outlined. The first map is zoomed out for an overall view. The blackened segment of Winfield Road is approximately 7,750 linear feet. Parcel 94 is bolded near the middle. With the exception of the subject property and neighboring parcel 17, all land fronting the south side of Winfield Road along the defined segment currently has either a C2 high-density commercial designation, that's the red coloring, or I1 light industrial zoning designation, and that's purple. The second map is zoomed in for more clarity. Existing land uses and zoning districts in the general vicinity are as follows. West Virginia Division of Highways, Winfield Road, Route 817 fronts the property. This right-of-way is 80 foot wide. Tax map 162, parcel 93, is a storage structure and active farm which is zoned R2 mixed residential, that's brown. Parcel 90.3 is a single-family residence which is zoned R2. Parcels 89 and 90 are vacant acreage owned by the applicant, that's FBD LLC. It's an active farm and zoned C1 suburban commercial, that's pink. Parcel 18 is an agricultural barn plus a separate commercial wedding venue and a single-family residence, which is zoned both C1 and C2. Parcel 18.1 is a single-family residence, which is zoned R2. Parcel 30 is mostly woodland property with a now-closed greenhouse and market, which is zoned both C2, high-density commercial, and R2. Parcel 95 is acreage owned by the applicant, FBD, that is residue of the Alexander's Place development, plus an active farm, which is zoned C1. And parcel 17 is an active farm acreage, which is zoned C1 and RR, rural residential, that's yellow. Total structures on parcels that abut the subject property are minimal. A total of 23 buildings on approximately 135 acres exist. In total, we have 2 residential homes, 1 residential detached garage, 6 agricultural barns or storage buildings, 1 commercial wedding barn, 10 commercial greenhouses or high tunnels, and 3 commercial market structures. The subject property is currently vacant. Attachment K is a photograph from Winfield Road. Approximately half of the subject parcel is mapped in FEMA's 100-year floodplain, and you can see that in attachment L. Water service is available through West Virginia American Water, and sewer service is available through Putnam PSD. On October 25th, landowners within 250 feet of the subject parcel were mailed a notification of this rezoning request and the public hearing. On October 26th, a legal advertisement was published in the Hurricane Breeze, and on November 14th, a sign was posted on site. To date, no written public comments have been submitted. Previous to emailing you the summary document, staff received 1 telephone call from the public where general rezoning and procedure information was discussed. Another member of the public visited the planning office to learn about C1 and C2 use allowances. Today, 2 additional phone calls came in. One person asked about the development that was to take place on the property, and staff explained that specific development of property is not a part of the rezoning discussion. Separately, the other person just simply asked procedure questions for tonight. You will have different options for your decisions. If you desire further information, you may table the matter. Should you find the applicant protects and promotes the public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare, and meets the intent of the referenced planning documents, you may vote to recommend approval to the County Commission. Should you find that the application does not protect and promote as described, you may vote to recommend denial to the County Commission. And you have in front of you a rezoning worksheet that you may use. You have several there. The one specifically is titled rezoning at the top. That can assist you in making your decision. And tonight, if you vote to make a recommendation to the County Commission, then they will hear your recommendation on December 28th, and their meetings start at 5 p.m. So I'll be glad to answer questions if you have any.
Okay, just real quick, Melissa, I kind of bounced around a little bit, and I should have done this before we had staff present their summary, but does anyone have a disclosure of conflict on this item? Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff? Doesn't look like we have any questions for the staff. Is the applicant or developer present for any comments? Do you guys have any comments or questions? Thank you. Does anyone from the public have any comments or questions? Just one at a time, obviously come up. There is a microphone here at the front of the room. Please state your name and your address. And we're going to try to limit comments to 5 minutes, please. Sir?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Jimmy Thaxton. I was a resident of Fraser's Bottom for 30 years, and I have family that lives there, my mom and Uncle Charlie, and we own property, well, they own property real close to there. When I lived in Fraser's Bottom, well, I raised my children there, and they went to school at Winfield. About 23 years ago, the county commission, led by the late Jim Carruthers, foresaw Route 35 coming through, and they knew when the road came through that the area was going to be developed. So they decided to come up with some zoning regulations so that it didn't end up like Tays Valley, businesses on top of, residential areas and things like that. So we got together as a community in Fraser's Bottom, came together and opposed it, because basically all they did was make all of Fraser's Bottom industrial because they saw the tax dollars. Well, they did a study, and they were able to figure out that there's all kinds of industrial property over across the river where the Toyota plant is, next to the river. So they kind of axed their ideas and proceeded to want to zone the Fraser's Bottom area, but not industrial. And I was asked to be on the committee to decide what some of those zoning regulations were going to be. And one of them was rural residential, which hasn't ever been done before. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of families that live down there, and they give property to their children to build houses on their homes. So what we designated rural residential was one house per 1 to 5 acres. And that's basically what they did for most of Fraser's Bottom. I'm here to oppose this because we're going on this property, which actually used to belong to my family. We had decided to go ahead and make that C1 along the road. I'm not sure if I was involved in that, but we said, yeah, sure, we like to have a little strip mall down there, something to service all the residents down there. And, because it's in a floodplain, and matter of fact, there might be some wetlands on this particular property. And the reason I say that is when the county built the industrial park, they had to relocate the wetlands in the industrial park, which is connected right next to this property, before they could go forward with that. So I'm not sure what's going on with the reason for designating this as C2, but that's going to be high-density commercial. And that's not something that should be done in this area. Because if it's high density, you're going to have a lot more trucks and activity in this area that's got to get on the 4-lane Route 35. And as you all know, there's been lots of accidents there at Hurricane Creek Road and Route 35. And if something like this is going to happen, then the Department of Highways needs to step up and make this road better. So I just say I'm opposed to this. I want to bring up a couple points, and that's that I'm not sure if proper notice was given for this hearing tonight. And the reason I say that is because it's my understanding that the residents of Alexander Place didn't get notice. And they're right next door to this property. And, Mr. Hobb is building houses in there and developing it, which is great. I think he's doing a great job. But those people that bought the houses from this company didn't get notified of what's going to happen on their zoning right next to them. So I'll make it short. Well, it's already been long, but anyway, I'll close by saying I urge all of you members to please table this idea. I think there needs to be a lot more research done into it. I mean, it's just like it's all of a sudden we were just ambushed by it. Here it is, the first week of deer season. Most of the good old boys in Fraser's Bottom are out of town hunting, and we just didn't have enough notice and time to get ourselves together to get ready for this big change that might be coming right next to us. So I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you all tabling this motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thaxton. Are there any questions for Mr. Thaxton? Is there anyone else from the public who has any comments?
My name is Joseph Caldwell, and I'm part owner of a parcel that's contiguous to this. And part of what I asked may or may not be on the agenda, but I guess one of my questions would be, why now? Is there a specific purpose for this property? Is there a plan or a building permit that's imminent? Mr. Thaxton alluded to the fact that probably most of this property is in the floodplain, and C2 would allow a very large footprint for a building. So one of the questions I have would be how you would handle the surface water runoff if you had a building that itself was 3 or 4 acres in size. I know you can lift the land up and build the building and have a parking area in the floodplain, but if it was a very large structure, I think that that's something that ought to be considered. Secondly, it's my understanding that not too long ago, a couple of months or so ago, there was a zoning request by Cortland Smith's family for the very same kind of zoning, and that was, I believe, turned down and may now be on appeal in the circuit court. So my question to the commission would be, what's different about this property than what was considered just up the road, probably not even half a mile? So we would ask that you take all these factors into consideration, and particularly whether or not there's a reason for doing anything right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions for Mr. Caldwell? Joe, we can, I guess, address the 2 or 3 questions that you did have. The one in reference to, I guess, why is this property being requested to be rezoned? It's not, this planning department or the actual planning department's role to determine, what is going to be done if it would be considered to be rezoned. So we do not know the answer to that, if it would get rezoned to C2. As it relates to runoff, and I can let Mr. Call, speak to this, but anytime that there is improvement that is done on property, there are specific requirements as it relates to stormwater and retention. So generally what we try to tell the public is that the water retention should not be made any worse. Most likely it would be improved. And then as it relates to, the difference between this application and the one prior, I don't believe I was present for that one, so I can't speak specifically to that. I'm not sure if anyone else, on this commission would like to address that question.
Can I speak to it?
Just let Mr. Ellis speak to it real quick.
All right, I would, I was at the meeting, and the concern was the Hurricane Creek interchange was the issue with the previous Smiths. And the way I understand it, that this piece of property would be accessed to industrial, which Mr. Caldwell said it is only up the road about half a mile. But that's the difference between Mr. Smith's issue and this issue was how you access the property.
This includes Hurricane Creek Road.
I don't believe it does include Hurricane Creek Road, no. Are there any other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Shirley Keeling Jones. I've lived in Fraser's Bottom on Evergreen Road all my life. I was on the steering committee, the original in 2000, and my son was on it too, and Jimmy Thaxton were the only 3 in Fraser's Bottom. But we did convince the county commission to please not zone it as C2. I know I'm the one that got a copy of C1 and C2. And what is EDHO? What does that stand for?
Elderly Disabled Housing Opportunity.
Okay. I did notice in that, there's not a whole lot of difference, but then when you look at it, there is. And that's one of the things that EDHO talks about, Article 1700. It's on that, they can have smokestacks, and that was one of the things when we were on the steering committee is we don't want smokestacks. We want a business park. And we are so afraid, like I say, the people that on Alexander Place, they weren't notified. And we are afraid of what's gonna go in there. And that is wetlands. I looked up what it qualified as wetlands. But here's another thing. The Route 35, when that was developed, it was supposed to be a quick exchange. If there is some type of industry that goes in there, yeah, you were not going out Hurricane Creek, but you're still going to have to be going on Route 35. That is going to be the track, if it's going to be tractor trailers, and it probably is. And there's word on the street that there's going to be an Amazon warehouse. I'll just put it out there. You know, that's low-paying jobs. But basically, if you want to have a meeting, if this goes on to the county commission, we will bring a lot of people in. Let our voice, don't let it go to that. Leave it at C1. I know Newport's coming in, and a lot of things are changing. But you talked about beautification in Putnam County. That's not beautification. And we're just worried about the environmental impact it's going to have. And it's the not knowing, and we know what other things can be there, and we don't want it. The community does not want that. And if it goes on to the county commission, we will have a lot of people, we'll have time to plan. And we'll have our voices be made. We're little, but we can be mighty. And we're hoping this does not go any further. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Mrs. Jones? Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make some comments? Yes.
Hi, my name is Leanne Grogg. I am one of the owners with my family of the wedding venue, Once Upon a Farm, which is across the road from this. I'd like to point out that there is no C2 high-density property in Fraser's Bottom at this time, and this would set a precedence. There is no bordering property that this abuts against or anything like that, and I hope you'll consider that. I'd secondly like to say that this opens up a possibility for we don't know what. For instance, an Amazon distribution center, something like that. If anyone on this council or in this galley would Google Amazon or big distribution centers and their impact on the community, it is not positive. 6,000 plus trucks and semis and vans a day in a 24-hour period can go in and out of high-density distribution centers. The other thing that I'd like to point out is, for the first time in my lifetime, and probably anybody in this chamber who lives on the now Winfield Road, old Route 35, our quality of life has been enhanced by what the county did with new Route 35. There's been no deaths on 817 that were caused by the trucks coming and going. For the first time on that road, and I see it every weekend, every day of the week, we have cyclists cycling in like 15 to 20 groups at a time. There's jogging groups, there's individual joggers. That is unprecedented on this road. And so I beg you all to consider not to rezone to a C2 high density. They will be on that road, pulling in and out, whatever kind of facility it is, number one. And number two, I don't know how we would be sure that they would not turn up Hurricane Creek Road and go to Route 35 that way. That's not a given. And if it's a lot of traffic and Business Park is busy, I can tell you right now, if I drove a truck or drove truck, I'd go right past Business Park on down to Hurricane Creek so I could make my escape onto 35. So anyway, I hope you will really consider that to the people of this community. There are children on school buses that get on that road. And for the first time, we can have a dog that might live past 10 years old. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Crump. Any questions or comments? Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Tina Bourdonnais, and I actually live in Alexander's Place. I guess I'm looking at it from a different concern. I don't really know what's going to be happening with this property, and we live in the neighborhood that's like right by there. So my daughter actually catches the bus at the entrance of the neighborhood, which is right on Business Park Drive, which would be where a lot of the activity coming and going would probably enter and exit. So that's concerning to me. And then they actually are talking about building a park, for like a dog park, a children's park, basketball courts, and everything else at the bottom of the subdivision, which would back up to this property. So if you have a bunch of children down there playing or anything else, I mean, we don't know what's going in there. If there's a huge business, like, it just makes me nervous. So I would like to know more about what his plans are for the property there, as far as a safety standpoint. I mean, I don't want my 8-year-old down there playing and then, you know, a bunch of truckers driving by, or, I mean, nothing specific to them, but you just never know anymore. You have to stay on the safe side and err on the side of caution. So for me, as a resident in the neighborhood, I would just like to know more about what he's planning to do with the property.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions or comments? Is there anyone else from the public who, okay, sir?
Yeah, my name's Charlie Caldwell. I live next door. That's my greenhouse over there next to the property. Not long after Dave Harbour bought this property that he's trying to rezone, he came to my market and asked me if we would trade that property for some land we own in the back adjoining the Alexander place. So he didn't particularly want it. Now, I assume he's found somebody who'll buy it, but he's just trying to do what he can with the property, and that's all he cares about.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Caldwell? Any other comments from the public? Okay, yes, sir.
My name's Jacob Holdeman.
Can you restate your name again?
Let me try this. My name's Jacob Holdeman, Holdeman. I'm with Skinnell Properties. I'm a developer out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Appreciate everybody's commentary tonight and the Planning Commission meeting and everybody being here. I wanted to address a couple of the comments in a little bit more pointed detail, just to help ease some of the concerns. So we are aware of the wetlands on the site. We're working with U.S. Army Corps on that. And to your point earlier, David, we're going to follow all regulations related to that to make sure that there are no environmental impacts. Similarly so with our stormwater management for the property. Secondarily, traffic. So, the prospective project that we're looking at here, we would do a full traffic study. We've already interfaced with West Virginia Department of Highways and discussed impacts. That traffic study is actually complete, and we don't show any significant or frankly any material impacts to the quality and safety of that route and the various routes that could be used to get out to the highway. And then secondarily, one thing that I think it's important to mention, I know the residential to the south, we'd obviously be very open to discussing, landscaping, any sort of screening, and we also will do a full sound study to ensure that there are no additional impacts to residents as it relates to noise and just general quality of life. I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
There any questions for Mr. Holderman? Yes, Jim, just 1 second.
Brought this up. I wonder if he could share with the public here, that may not be a factor for your commission, as to what the plans are. I mean, I find it hard to believe that you can do a rezoning in isolation and say, we're going to allow A or B or C, but we don't know what A, B, or C is. So apparently they've done some work, they've got some plans. I just wonder if he would let us know what they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. Holderman, question was asked.
So obviously want to follow the regulations of your guys' commission and council. I think I meant to mention this in my initial address, is that, this isn't a project we're talking about smokestacks or anything of that sort. I can't opine on the exact specific use, but generally speaking, we build high-quality, Class A, institutional real estate. We're not building the shack, we're not building the wooden barn, we're not building some of the smokestacks with soot coming out. So hopefully that helps alleviate a little bit of the concern from that perspective. Yep. You want me to just restart?
I'll go ahead and summarize. It sounds like legal obligations are keeping him from being able to disclose specifically what they are going to be building on the property. Per his comments that, they develop, high-end Class A property that, and one, I know you touched on screening. Screening is required when property does abut, certain residential real estate, so that would be addressed as well, or a requirement too. So to answer the questions, doesn't sound like he's able to fully disclose. There will not be smokestacks, but the anticipation is it would be high-end, Class A. And Jim, you had a comment?
I was wondering if the traffic study is available for us to peruse or not, if it's been done.
May I make a real quick comment? I just want to remind everyone that your decision tonight would not be based on any proposed project. Mr. Haba owns the property, and Mr. Haba currently has all avenues available to him for anything allotted in a C1 zone. If the county commission eventually does choose to go to C2, then any avenue available to him, regardless of what the gentleman from the Scannell Properties, I believe is what he said, is speaking about, that is not the point of rezoning a property. That may never come to fruition. It would be Mr. Hopa's property unless he sells it, and he may choose to use any option in the C2 lists if it gets to that designation.
Thank you, Melissa, and well stated. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I do have some information that is not, by any means do we know what it is, but may I approach you all with a couple articles that you can take with you? I would like to mention that in consistency with, for instance, an Amazon distribution center, they do not disclose where exactly what that is. And if you read many articles, you can find that sometimes they even have a code name, and I'm not saying by any means that's what's happening here, but the fact that it's very hush-hush, oftentimes communities have things of that nature even thrown on them. The second thing I would like to mention of a personal note, and I think it's significant, I think Fraser's Bottom is a little jewel in the crown of Putnam County. As I walked down the halls today, I noticed that there's so many pictures of our history on the walls of this building. And I also noticed that very few are as old as the structures at Once Upon a Farm, that are in excellent condition, that have been rehabbed and painstakingly cared for by my mother. When they built new Route 35 in the environmental review, the Caldwell brick house was mentioned as a structure that any construction or use of the road could not tamper with the integrity or have a negative effect on it because it is historically significant. It was completed in 1860. The barns, and we have an ice pit that is 100% intact that you can see and look at, 15-foot retaining wall, dry stacked. used until the invention of refrigeration. It was built in 1847. I have real concerns that perhaps any kind of high-density building, construction, and then use of a facility like that could have adverse effects on surrounding property as far as the kind of, vibrations and things like that of heavy equipment. And if you look in that article, I believe one is on page 7, around high distribution, big facilities like this, there is cracking in structures, and there is also people that report that they can feel that within their homes. So it's just something to think about. We have a very, very significantly important and historic property in Fraser's Bottom. I invite any of you all to come anytime if you want to see a little piece of history. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
So my name is J.D. Haba, and I work for Dave Haba, and I'm representing him tonight. So first, I'd like to say that this wasn't intentional, that it was during hunting season, because we, of course, all hunt too. Also, to address the concerns about Alexander's Place, so the park is going to be in that bottom area. However, it's going to be surrounded by ponds. Ponds are already located and already stocked with fish. And then we've also went ahead and started planting green giant trees, which I think grow something like 2 to 3 feet a year. If there's additional separation that we need to do, then we would work with Skinnell Properties to do it, or even we would just do it ourselves because it is important to us. That park system will probably be completed at the end of next summer, or I'm sorry, this upcoming summer. And then also, we do have couple or 3 more phases left in Alexander's Place. We will be building there for maybe another 4 to 5 years. So we wouldn't want to do anything with that property that would negatively impact that. And we do care about the community, of course. I live in Winfield. Of course, I care about Fraser's Bottom for multiple reasons. And then to full disclosure, I have my own money invested in that community. It's not just Dave Haba. So we wouldn't do anything to negatively impact that. And then in terms of the property that is on 817, that rezoning is for a specific project. We're working with Skinnell Properties on that project, and as Jacob mentioned, we can't really go in detail on what that is. However, if anything were to happen with that, going to C2 does not negatively impact what we can and can't do, because we are a residential builder mostly. So going to C2 would allow us to have different housing types that we at least may be able to be a little bit more creative with what we'd offer. But there is a specific project in mind. We're working with Skinnell Properties for that. So are there any questions that you all may have, or any of you all?
Go ahead, Jim.
Just to be clear then, the specific project that I'm asking you to identify is not something that you can do under C, as it's currently.
Yes, I believe that is the case. But it would not negatively impact any of the housing that's there or the residents.
Are there any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Haba.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Here's the bottom line. We don't want C2. You know, and it's hush-hush. There's some reason that they're not wanting to tell us what it is, but they have done, you know, all this study on the road. I'll tell you, it will be a problem. If it's something with more people, anyway, it's hush-hush. The community does not want C2, bottom line. Please listen to us now.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
I'd just like to say one more thing. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
this really concerns me about what's going in down there. Everything's hush-hush, everything was done. I mean, I don't think proper notice was given, everything, but I can tell you that the residents of Fraser's Bottom do not want C2. Leave it at C1. There's plenty of things you can do with C1, but if you guys can just table this tonight, let some more development, let some more word get out. All we have to go on is rumors. But you can put a stop to this tonight and just not let it be a C2, keep it a C1, and then see where this takes us.
Actually, we can't, because this board doesn't make those decisions. We can make recommendations.
Sure, I understand.
They don't, I mean, I've seen them go up there and we say no, and they do it.
Right.
I've seen them go up there and we say yes, they don't.
Right.
It's not up to us. However, we try to just take what the rules are and apply them where they.
Sure.
The human part of it, that's the hard part, man.
I understand.
And it's the hard part, and to try to, my grandmother died at 35, well, bless her. I have a statement, but I also look at these things, from a standpoint of, it's right beside that, there's a lot of factors to this, but the human part of it, we have to move.
Right.
That's just not what we do.
Well, that's why they created these zoning issues 23 years ago, was so this type of thing doesn't happen. They just put a C2 right up next door to a residential area. And that's what you're trying to do. I mean, they're selling houses back there and building them. So anyway, I just urge you to, just let it lie down tonight and let's bring it up another time. Nobody knew about this. Let me get my team together, all of Fraser's Bottom, and just table this tonight, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thaxton. Vic, you had a comment? Okay. Any other comments from the public? Okay, we're going to go ahead and close the public comment portion. What that means, obviously, the public's had plenty of time to make their comments, voice their opinions. This board will go ahead and deliberate and have some discussion. So we would ask that you guys refrain from any additional comments. Thank you. Okay, does anyone on this board have any opinion as it relates to this zoning amendment?
So, it was my understanding that, in order to get C2, they would have to apply. Does that not apply here?
From the information that's in the packet, it looks like C2 and I-1 abut this property. And obviously residential on the south side as well.
If it's okay for me to add, it does, as you said, it borders a C2 property already. It's currently C1, and it borders other C1 property. It's, I believe, the one property on Berkeley Creek, that was, I think, residential, and they were trying to be C2, whereas this one, yeah, it was farm, and it was not already C1. It borders C1, of course, didn't border C2, so that wouldn't apply to this specific case.
Thank you. Did I make any misrepresentations as to the properties? From what I'm looking at, from what's in our packet, obviously you have the light industrial, what would be maybe to the east, and C2 directly to the east, yeah.
Yeah, if you'll reference attachment J, you'll be able to see.
Does anyone else on the commission have any comments?
I have one question. It's been, a couple of folks have said, question the notice. What, is there a distance requirement when you said you sent out?
Yes. 250 feet from the county, from the boundaries of the parcel is required, and it was submitted, checked by our office, double-checked by the assessor's office. Everybody received proper notice.
So if anyone in Alexander over here, on Manor Way or Terror Way, they're further out. So they were not required to get the notice?
There was one or two at the very end of the cul-de-sac, actually in the subdivision. The newest one I recall, there's not a home there yet, but it's a new lot purchase, and they were sent a notice.
So you're saying the one or two that were close enough were sent notices?
Correct. And the person in charge of the association, which is Mr. Haba, he was sent a notice for the association.
And then you also advertised in the newspapers and all those
Yes.
things? Okay.
Any other comments?
It's okay, I'd also like to add that the two homes in that cul-de-sac, they back into a pond. That pond, I don't remember how wide it is, but I think it might be about 15 feet wide. And it's also stocking fish. Those lots, I think they're maybe 120 feet deep. You have a common space in between the pond, and you have that pond, additional common space. And on the other side of that pond, we planted the green giant trees, and we planted them kind of at a zigzag, so they're all set from one another. So it should provide a good enough cover, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Thank you. Any other comments from this commission?
What C2 property abuts this?
Would you like me to?
C2 property abuts this?
I don't know what's there.
I can respond to the lady if you'd like.
Yes, Melissa, please.
Mr. Caldwell's market is C2.
But isn't that true that maybe 2 or 3 acres versus your 37-acre request? Quite a difference.
So I'll just address that comment. And we actually dealt with something very similar at our last meeting, and I believe it was 8 inches of a property. There's no minimum distance requirements by the ordinances in terms of what abuts for that property to be considered an abutting property. So if it's 1 acre, 8 inches as it was 30 days ago, it still was considered abutting. Okay, so as we continue to move through, I'm just going to go ahead and ask this group to look at the worksheet to determine if this zoning request can be approved or not. So the first criteria on the worksheet is, will the proposed amendment protect and promote public health, safety, convenience, morals, and general welfare? Does anyone have an opinion?
President, I think the public has made several comments where they question whether or not rezoning from C1 to C2 would actually protect and promote public health, safety, convenience, morals, general welfare.
Does anyone else have similar or opposing opinions?
Me as well, and I'll just expand on that just a little bit, Mr. Chairman. Been several folks comment tonight who've lived in that area for a long time. Many of us who drove up and down 35 before it was not 35, before the new 35, and experienced some of the heavy tractor trailer traffic and wrecks and deaths that occurred on that road. I am concerned based on what uses would be allowed under C2, up to and including heavy tractor trailer sales, warehousing, things like that, that would potentially end up putting heavy tractor trailer traffic back on 817 when we just took it off by building the new 35. So I don't think that would promote public health or safety at all. And think that first question should be answered no.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else have an opinion?
I think that it would be yes. You're in an area that's generally industrial. The road, yes, at one time had heavy tractor trailer traffic, but there's a reason why we don't know what type of business goes on when we zone something C2, so we don't pick winners or losers. We know that the road could handle some tractor-trailer traffic. We just did, like you had expressed, we adjusted something similar to this last board meeting, and I think that in order to keep consistency, I think that making an opportunity that would open up jobs and things in the area, in an area that could handle it, I think is in the best interest of the public. So I would say it would be yes.
This is definitely a heavy decision, and like I think Glenn said it best when he said there's a human dynamic here that is hard to ignore. And to Mr. Pack's point, you know, we also have to look at the county as a whole and not just Frazier's Bottom, and what's going to benefit from, you know, the general welfare as far as bringing jobs. And correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but before there is a development, that development of, for whatever purpose, is going to have to be approved at a later date, correct? So if the traffic studies don't support it, there's other mechanisms set in place. Is that correct?
Yes, anything for construction would have to go through the permitting process.
So I think a lot of the concerns are less, and there's a lot of unknowns from the community as well, and that I get. And I think everybody on this board does, but I think, again, whatever that ends up being, that development, that construction is still gonna have to be approved, which is a different issue than whether or not it's just rezoned. So for that, from strictly trying to take the human dynamic out of it as much as I can, I think it'd have to be yes.
Thank you, Travis. Anyone else have an opinion?
Mr. President, in other words, having been on this planning commission and glad to serve Putnam County, been honored. That I was here when some zoning was initially done, probably 23 years ago and longer, and the zoning throughout the county was done on a planned basis. A lot of that C1, C2 had to do with the commercial traffic. Just like C2 is where it was zoned for the automobile dealerships to be. And I remember at a planning commission meeting where we, years ago, decided on a used car dealership to be beside the library. And it was decided no, that C2 should be in Hurricane where the C2 district was, not to allow that to be rezoned to C2. And I believe the truck dealership that's down there now, it's there because that's where the planning was done to allow for traffic. And the C1, C2s, the other zoning was done for the good of the county and for the growth of the county, and not for necessarily because we get an opportunity to rezone a partial from residential to commercial, or from C1 commercial to C2 commercial. So I don't think we need to lose sight of what planning was done for originally, my opinion.
Thank you. We've had some good opinions, you know, for and against this. I would go ahead and ask all those in favor signify by saying aye, that criteria 1 would be yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Can we go ahead and do a roll call, please?
Heather Davis, Edie Davis. No. Jim Doggett.
No.
Ron Ellis,
Yes.
Jessica Griffin. Vic Mays,
No,
David Mills,
I have to opine for now.
Jacob Pack,
Yes.
Steve Perry,
No.
Adam Sigmund,
Yes.
Travis Willard,
Yes.
Glenn Yeager.
5 yes, 4 no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to question number 2. Is the amendment consistent in achieving the objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan, US 35 corridor management plan, and the Tays Valley land use plan? Anyone with an opinion?
Once again, I would say yes, because of the type of, there's already C2 in the area, there's industrial in the area, and I don't think you're significantly changing it on the area as a whole.
Thank you, Jacob. Anyone else have an opinion?
I have exactly the opposite opinion, especially based on Mr. May's comments a moment ago about the plan, the objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan. That was adopted, the new US 35 wasn't even where it is today. So I think, considering the fact that so much work was done to move that road and to kind of depopulate 817 from the heavy traffic that was there for so many years, I think it goes a long way to say that the makeup of the area of 817 has changed significantly. The purpose or the goals to be achieved with industrial and commercial properties has changed. If anything, I think we ought to be focusing more of that for the new 35 versus 817, which is kind of reverted back to its old characteristics or characteristics before there was that heavy traffic. So I think the amendment is not consistent with achieving the objectives of the comprehensive plan, and would therefore think this should be answered no.
Thank you, Jim. Any other opinions? We'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Let's do another roll call, please.
Keith Davis? No. Jim Dodrell?
No.
Brian Ellis?
Yes.
Rick Mays? Jacob Hack?
Yes.
Steve Perry?
No.
Adam Sigmund?
Yes.
Travis Willer?
Yes.
Glenn Yeager?
Yes.
It's the same number, 5-4, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so the motion passed 5-4. Does anyone want to make a motion to, recommend this to the county commission?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Let's go ahead and do another roll call, please.
Keith Davis? No. Jim Dodrell?
No.
Brian Ellis?
Yes.
Rick Mays?
No.
Jacob Hack?
Yes.
Steve Perry?
No.
Adam Sigmund?
Yes.
Travis Willer?
Yes.
Glenn Yeager?
Same, 5-4, yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on the agenda, the next item on the agenda is the Oaks at Clayton Point. Any of those from the public, thank you guys for coming out and voicing your opinion. You're welcome to stay if you'd like. Does anyone have a disclosure of conflict for the Oaks at Clayton Point? Okay, staff?
Good evening. We're here to hear a proposal for a major subdivision called the Oaks at Clayton Point. We get the authority from Article 100 through 100.4, Major Subdivision Development. A major subdivision development in Putnam County Subdivision Regulations defines a major subdivision as activities associated with the platting and proposed development of any parcel of land into 6 or more lots, including the residue or parent lot and/or property within 500 feet from the original property boundaries for a period of 10 years. CMH Homes Incorporated has applied to the Office of Planning and Infrastructure for the development of the Oaks at Clayton Point, a 14-lot major subdivision development on a 3.6-acre parcel located off Scott Lane, Scott Depot, West Virginia, tax map 223, parcel 113. Ingress and egress point will be off Scott Lane, off of Tays Valley Road, it's Route 33. The applicant submitted the necessary major subdivision development application and disclosure statement on October 27, 2023. A copy of the application and disclosure statement is included as attachment A. The major subdivision development was legally advertised in the Hurricane Breeze on October 19th. A notarized copy of the certificate for publication is attached as attachment B. All abutting landowners within 100 feet were notified of the proposed major subdivision. A copy of the recorded deed, it's in Deed Book 617, pages 719 and 720, showing ownership is included attachment C. A reduced copy of the major subdivision development and preliminary plat is submitted. The design engineer is included as attachment D. A large copy of that plat, the original, is over there on the easel. The property is located off Scott Lane on tax map 223, parcel 113. An aerial view is included as attachment E. This parcel is located in an R2 mixed residential zoning district, and surrounded land uses include residential, commercial, convenience store, educational facilities. R2 mixed residential allows for a mixture of permitted uses, accessory uses, and special permit uses. The design standards for the single-family lots are included as attachment F. The Office of Emergency Services has approved the major subdivision development named the Oaks of Clayton Point, and the addresses within the major subdivision development as of August 15th of 2023 is included as attachment G. The Oaks at Clayton Point is located on FEMA firm panel 54079C-0235 and is not located in a flood hazard area. A copy of the West Virginia flood tool map is located as attachment H. Drainage summary and development plans were submitted by Randolph Engineering on September 29th, 2023. Lee McCoy, PE County Engineer, has recommended approval as submitted. A copy of his approval letter is included as attachment I. The property will be served with public water through Putnam Public Service District, as long as the sewer service as well. Notice that the public hearing sign was placed on site stating the date, time, and place of the public hearing. Chapter 5, Putnam County Community Plan 2014 Bridging to the Future is included as attachment J. Photographs of the site is attachment K. There has been one telephone call to date regarding questions of proposed development. At 4 o'clock today, I did receive an additional email. I put that email in front of you from a Nancy Chambers at 1:12, and she did ask that I read her comments on the record. Ms. Grayley, thank you for speaking with me today. I had planned to attend the commission meeting, but I have to work this evening. I have two concerns about the proposed subdivision going in off of Scott Lane. Number one, water runoff. How will the water be directed so that it does not cause issues with homes that already exist, especially the homes on Somerset? Has the commission given thought to the traffic situation that the egress onto Scott Lane is going to cause? Creed has to unload big trucks on the lane. Big trucks use Scott Lane when pulling in and out of Speedway. In the mornings during the week, traffic can only turn one direction due to school traffic. Some people do not know who has the right-of-way when pulling out of the Dairy Queen. 14 more homes having to pull into Scott Lane this close to a major intersection is going to be quite difficult at times. Thank you for considering my concerns. Nancy Chambers, 112 Scott Lane, Scott Depot. There's also a resolution 2302. It's included in attachment L. Planning Commission discussion, the guidelines for consideration is the subdivision submittal consistent with the county's comprehensive plan? Do the streets, drainage, and safety design standards meet acceptable specifications? Examples, 911 addressing, signage, flood hazard area, parking, etc. Is the layout of the lot suitable for physical conditions of the property? Are natural and unique areas, if any, protected? Are the costs of construction borne by the developer and not the taxpayers or residents? If approved, are any conditions needed that minimize the impact of the major subdivision development on the surrounding land and environment? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Does anyone have any questions for staff? Only question I have, and David, you and I spoke about this, with this application, is there any, request for anything that's not typical within the subdivision regs in terms of, lot setback, et cetera?
No, all of the, according to the design specifications submitted by the engineer, all of the lots exceed minimum size, all of the setbacks, proposed setbacks exceed minimum. And drainage and everything was approved by the county engineer, and the zoning allows for such a development.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for staff? We'll have the public comment section here shortly. Thank you. Any questions from the Planning Commission for staff? Okay, we'll go ahead and open up the floor. Does the applicant or developer have any comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I have to apologize for my voice. I'm recovering from a bad cold. My name is George Gunnell. I've lived here in Putnam County for 30 years. Moved here in 1994 and raised my family here. This piece of property that we purchased, we have it intended for a subdivision. I've worked in the manufactured and modular home business for those 30 years, and for the past 13 years, I've been the regional vice president for Clayton Homes. I oversee all of our locations in West Virginia, Ohio, and Eastern Kentucky. And this type of a subdivision that we're wanting to develop is something we're doing nationwide now. We've handed out some examples of the homes that we're doing across the country. A little background, Clayton Homes, we're a Berkshire Hathaway company, so we are not just in manufactured homes and modular homes. We own 7 very large stick builders across the country, some that stick build more than 2,000 homes a year, down in South Carolina, North Carolina, Mungo Homes being one of those. So Clayton Homes we're well diversified in housing, and the homes that we want to put into this subdivision are not single-wide and double-wide manufactured homes. That is part of our business. We're putting modulars in. These are Boca Code modulars that'll be set on permanent foundations. They'll be split-face blocks. They'll have stick-built garages on them. They'll be landscaped, concrete driveways. This is going to set a tone in this area for affordable housing for folks that's not currently here and probably will never return. And it's super, super important. There's a $6 million housing shortage in the country right now. And of those 6 million people, over 2/3 of them can't even afford a house if it were on the market because of interest rates and because of the cost of houses. So this is a crippling situation for the country. Scott Lane, we found this piece of property and we're excited about it because we're going to be able to develop 14 locations, 14 homes in a wonderful school community here in Putnam County, close by Blue Ribbon School, where all of my 3 daughters went to school in Scott Depot. Inflation, high interest rates, we don't know when those are going to go away. We're seeing the likes of this that we've not seen in 22 years. More people are forced into renting homes. That's becoming difficult. And there's a shortage for folks to be able to get into affordable housing. So I wanted to just give a little bit of background on what we're building. I mentioned some of this. These homes will all have a minimum of 512 roof pitch. They will have stick-built garages. I mentioned the fact that we'll have permanent foundations. All running gear that they're transported on from the manufacturing facilities will be removed. Frames will be removed. Okay, these are off-frame modulars. Okay, they're transported from the manufacturing facility to this site, and then they are moved off of that running gear and placed onto a permanent foundation. Permanent. Okay, this is not a mobile home community. Front and rear porches will be built. They'll be very much the likes of what we've passed out in the packets that you're looking at. We currently have a project that we just completed on a golf course outside of Morgantown with 4 houses. Each one of them just hit the market at $399,000 to $419,000. Okay, it's a totally different market up in Morgantown. Add 100, 150,000 to what's going on in Putnam County, but these were modular homes. Okay, full drywall, permanent foundations, 24 by 24 foot garages, stone, hand-laid stone, backing up onto a golf course. That's why they warrant the price that they're getting. But homes up in Morgantown of this caliber would be $600,000+. So we ask for your approval to help us to be able to bring these houses to 14 very fortunate families in this area in Putnam County that could get a flavor of what it is to be a homeowner in times when they can't afford to be a homeowner. In addition, we will use local contractors. I'm local. All of my stores use local contractors. We don't bring people in from out of state. And this will promote business within the community as well, whether it's local contractors, whether it's block companies, whether it's crane companies. All these folks, plumbers, electricians, HVAC people, all come and are all hired. They're already working for us at the 25 locations that I oversee.
We're about at your 5 minutes too, please. So just to keep things
All right,
moving.
well, I'm going to thank you. I'll close then and thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to address any questions.
Sir.
Just the numbers he was putting out on houses, please understand that's not the price point we're trying to build here. These houses are going to be in the 200, mid-200 range is about what we're looking at. And also want to say Scott Lane, this piece of property that we bought and we own, it was my grandfather's. Okay, I grew up on Scott Lane. Lee Riddle was my grandfather. I don't know if you all know, he was built houses in Tays Valley for 25, 30 years. My mom still lives on Scott Lane. My kids are, that's where I live. So it's my community too. I don't want anybody to think I would ever do anything to adversely affect that specific area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I apologize. I was pointing out a market that's totally different than ours, but that is, we're looking to hit in a $250,000, $280,000 price range, which can't be stick-built in today's market. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for the developer or applicant?
I just had a question, just when these come, when they're trucked in, how finished are they? Like, or do you hang the rock after you put them on the foundation, or is the rock already in them, things like that?
It's basically blue now, so the rock will be up, the exterior walls will be finished. We'll trim out everything in the middle, basically, where the two houses, or 2 to 3 sections connect, depending on what kind of house it is.
Okay.
And then a lot of the work is done on site. Siding is hung, roofs are finished. In addition to stick building, porches, front, back porches, all concrete work, flat work, and garages. That's all done. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make comments? Go ahead and come on up. State your name and your address, please.
Hello, I'm Billy Hoffman. I'm at 86 Scott Lane, directly beside the property. I'm terrible at public speaking. I'm going to try to get through this. My home and business includes 56 storage units that are located directly beside the 3.6 acre field where Clayton Homes is planning to put the 14 mobile homes. For the last 10 years, the 3.6 field has flooded every time we get a modest rain. The water puddles and often runs off the field over the surrounding subdivisions and continues down the hill. I've seen neighbors have to use brooms to push water away from entering their homes. I've had to remove a fence on my property line because the groundwater had saturated and rotted the wood. The 3.6 acres of grass absorbs a tremendous amount of water. Covering the landscape with impervious surfaces such as pavement and roofs will change the water flow for the pattern for the surrounding homes. Oklahoma State University has done a study addressing the drainage issues in urban landscaping. Weather and climate variabilities are expected to continue with increased and perhaps more intensive rainfall. Urban landscapes, yards around houses, and other areas within neighborhoods are highly susceptible to increased rainfalls due to the presence of impervious areas, roofs, driveways, sidewalks, where water cannot move into the soil, pushing more water downslope. If drainage of the expected excess rainfall is not planned for in advance, the potential for increased flooding and perhaps erosion becomes a greater problem. Draining problems can be tied to a combination of factors, including hydrology, soil properties, grading, slope, and variations. When the water exceeds its saturation, cannot go deeper, it emerges back to the surface. The solution is retention ponds or rain ponds. I'm not going to read all this. Basically, you build a pond around it, it absorbs the rainwater, releases it slowly so it doesn't flood all of my storage units, my house, and the many subdivisions on down the hill that already have a water problem. So my question, I guess, is what is the plan for the retention pond for this property? Where will it be placed? I'd also like to enter some information I found that was done. The Seattle Times and BuzzFree News found that Clayton Homes has a pattern of deception to help extract billions from poor customers around the country. The company is owned by Warren Buffett, one of the world's richest men. Clayton systematically pursues unwitting minority home buyers and baits customers into costly subprime loans, many of which are doomed to fail. Many customers end up losing their homes, thousands of dollars in down payments, and even the land they had owned outright. Another article in 2018. Clayton Homes, the largest builder of modular homes in the United States, has been accused of relying on predatory sales practices, exuberant fees and interest rates that exceed 15%, trapping many buyers in loans they cannot afford and in homes that are impossible to sell or refinance. It will lower the property value for many of our homes around the area if we have to take on these problems after it comes into place. Due to the catastrophic effect the flooding would do to my home and business, including the damage of the property of each of my renters who have property in the 56 units, and to my neighbor's home and property, I'm asking that this committee require a hydrology report be done to give us an analysis of what the water process involved in this parcel of ground in relation to the surrounding homes. I would like to request an additional meeting to review the study's findings and allow more people the chance to attend who are currently out of town due to the holiday. Signs were put up for this meeting in 2 different places. After the 3rd day, they were both taken down that night. I actually got a call from a neighbor telling me they were out of town. They just found out about it and asked me if I would request to put this on hold for another meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Hoffman?
May I answer just a couple of her concerns?
Please.
So as far as she had mentioned the water control, and we have spent several $1,000s to make sure we did that properly. Aaron from Randolph's is here. He can certainly attest that we have handled that. That the water control is there. We wouldn't have gotten to this point had we not taken care of that. Also, that land has been in my family for a really long time, and I've never seen a flood. So I was not aware of that problem. And as far as just addressing the fact that it's going to decrease the value of the houses, I think that's way off base. I really think that we will increase the value of the houses in the area when we get our per square footage appraisals. And some of the comments just about Clayton Homes in general. There's laws in West Virginia that prohibit us from interest rates, that kinds of, they can go get their money from Putnam County Bank. I do more of my business with Putnam County. We don't care where it comes from. We do own a bank. It is an option, but it's an option that they choose to take. And we definitely don't have any interest rate anywhere that's 15%. It's just.
Thank you.
What is the plan? If he says the water's been dealt with, what has been dealt with? Are there going to be detention ponds? We can go there right now and your feet will disappear if you walk into that field right now.
Yes, can you come up to the, sir, can you come up to the microphone, please?
I'm Aaron Randolph, Randolph Engineering. I prepared the engineering calculations for the stormwater. And with respect to the questions that might arise with the stormwater, and I'm sorry, the acoustics and my poor hearing, I'm going to have to address each one of them individually, and you're going to have to repeat them. But what I was hoping I could do is address all the stormwater questions after everyone's spoken to be able to catch everything at once. Would that be okay, or do I need to do it one at a time?
Go ahead, is there anyone else here who's going to have public comments?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, you can address them at the end, would be fine. Oh, sir. Ladies first. Can you pull the mic down?
First of all, hi. Thank you for letting us speak. My name's Della Litton, and I live literally in the very back of this property. My whole backyard is this almost 3 acres, and it literally slopes down like this. It is going to wreak havoc on flooding. Oh, my word. That's only one of the problems. And if engineering could correct flooding, there would be no flooding. 5 years from now, when they're gone and made their money and they're gone and we're left there with this, who helps us then? So one of the things we want, and I've talked to so many in the community and they're devastated, like they said, this is holidays. I mean, this meeting is 2 days before Thanksgiving. I need time to see a lawyer. Who's going to protect my rights on this flooding? This is bad on this flooding issue there. I've known about this less than 2 weeks. Zoning didn't have my address correct or something, and they got me something out, but this has all been slammed on us. Our property value will decrease, and you all know that. These are glorified double wides going in, affordable housing. They will foreclose, like ALDA, and Section 8 will take over. The investors will swoop in, and that's what we're creating here in Putnam County. Please, I mean, we need time. We need to get our people in here. There's so many that want to come in and talk, but they just couldn't get here. Give us time. I mean, this is our homes. This is what I'm going to leave my children, and it is going to drop our property value. They're going to be gone. Clayton Mobile Homes is going to be gone. They specialize in mobile homes and manufacturing. And putting lipstick on a pig doesn't change it. It's still a pig. This is our life. I mean, this is our homes. Please, give us time, or don't just let this happen. At least, I mean, they had months. We've had less than 2 weeks. I have. It's not fair. You guys are here to protect the community, right? We bought this home 16 years ago, and guess what the first thing was we checked? The zoning back there. And how this is being called, I want to talk to a lawyer. Like, how is this being called not a trailer court and financing? How is that going to work? If they can't be considered a trailer court, will they not be able to finance under that buy here, pay here financing that trailers do? Or will they qualify under that Modernization Act for section housing to pay their mortgage? I mean, there's so many things here that need to be investigated. This is our community, and it's beautiful. Putnam County is such a precious place. Don't let it get destroyed. Please. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Litton?
Could I just make a couple rebuttal comments?
Come up to the mic, please.
So I just want to let you know that I take offense to some of the things that are being said for the simple fact that we are not buy here, pay here. The repossession rate of our homes is at the historic low, lower than what any local banks are. The only reason why homes get repossessed is because people don't pay their mortgage payments, regardless of whether it's a stick-built home, regardless of whether it's a commercial property, regardless of whether it's a single-wide, double-wide, or a modular home. If you don't pay for your home, it gets repossessed. If you don't pay for your car, they come and hook to it and take it. That's not because of financing or anything else. It's because you didn't pay for it, okay? More than 50% of our houses that we sell, and I'm responsible for 1,500 houses a year, are financed by outside lenders. 20% are paid in cash. And when I say outside lenders, Poca Valley Bank, Summit Bank, some national lenders, credit unions that are out of Texas, people that are lending to Fannie Mae type of contracts. These homes are going to be listed with a realtor, okay? Because there's land attached to them. So we're not brokers. So when these homes are finished, we will be listing them with local real estate agents, okay? Conventional financing will be available for every one of these houses. Every single appraiser is required to appraise our homes that we're going to be building in this subdivision the same exact way as if a local builder had built them or if you built a home yourself. I've been in this industry for 30 years, okay? Our industry is helping more people today than it ever has. And it's going to continue to because of the fact of where we are with prices of materials, prices of labor, prices of land, and interest rates. Otherwise, we're going to have more people living on the streets. And we could spend all night talking about that. We have to be able to build and have homes that are affordable to people that have the median incomes of this country. The national average price for a house is exceeding $380,000. It far exceeds what the average income can support in a mortgage. And there's mortgage laws in place that won't allow these people that are in that situation to even borrow the money to buy a house like that. They're called debt ratios. Okay, and they have to conform to the lending laws that this country has. The bank, they're required. SAFE Act, Dodd-Frank. These things have been put in place to make sure there's not another 2008 mortgage debacle. And that had nothing to do with manufactured housing, single-wides, double-wides, modular, or stick-built homes. It had to do with overstated appraisals, lenders doing things that they shouldn't have done, and giving mortgages to people that couldn't afford them. And guess what? They couldn't pay for them, and they got repossessed. So please help us be able to help the folks of Putnam County, including my children that live here, to be able to have homes available to them to purchase and live in and raise their families the way that I was able to.
Thanks, sir. Yes, go ahead and come on up, please. Thank you, and just want to make a point, we're not here to debate what one person is saying versus the other. Thank you. Sir, you want to come up?
My name's Don Edwards, and I live off Scott Lane, and lived there since 1984. I actually feel better after listening to these gentlemen. When I thought that we were putting in single-wide trailers with underpinning, okay? So I do feel better, but, you know, all these years that I've lived there, there's been a lot of population move in the area. And so when you pull out of Scott Lane, and like she said, or somebody said, you have to turn right, and you're in a school zone, and I don't know if any of you all have ever driven by there, and that school, it's a total mess. And so we really need some help. That needs to be a third lane there, a turn lane put in there. Another thing that really worries me, as long as I've lived there, you know, you got kids that you got to be careful running across the road or whatever. When you turn right out of Scott Lane, there's no, the school zone sign is back toward the west. So you really don't know if you're pulling out in the school zone or not. I mean, you know, but generally there's common sense. You know, you see the cars, but it depends on what time. You might take out there 30 mile an hour and actually be in the school zone. So I would like for someone to think about maybe moving that sign up to Speedway so that when we pull out of there, you can look up and say, yeah, I'm in school zone. And like I say, the traffic there is really getting to be a mess. I don't know, I can't speak about the water. You know, I assume, listen to these guys, they've thought about the water and they're going to take care of it. So all I can do is trust what they say. But like I say, I feel better. We're not putting in single wide trailers because if you guys know anything about Scott Lane, we did put in a trailer court out there across the railroad tracks. It was supposed to be some grandiose retirement home, okay? And it has turned out to be a disaster. Some of these guys here that live there, there's people running up and down the road on little mini bikes, and you know, it's crazy. The speed, we really actually need sidewalk going up and down through there, out on Tays Valley Road and really Scott Lane. Probably never happened, but anyway, appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Any comments from Mr. Edwards? Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make a comment? Then please come up and state your name and address, sir.
My name's Ed Pugh. I live in, thank you for allowing me to speak. This is all new to me, so if I'm out of order, just let me know. I've lived here for 33 years and moved here 33 years ago, bought 2 homes in Scott Acres where I live. And in 33 years, I'm sure Mr. Mays has seen a lot of change, and I have too. We like the area. I work in Bell. I travel Bell every day since, for 33 years living here. I picked Putnam County because of the schools and Scott Depot. Because there was, I don't want this to come the wrong way, but this gentleman over here said it the best way, the human factor, okay? And I do feel better of the kind of homes you're going to build because Donnie Edwards mentioned the trailer park behind the railroad tracks that got put up there. And once again, it was advertised, a great area. It was going to be an elite place, a mobile home place and stuff. And we, the residents, have to deal with the drugs, the theft that comes with that type of living. I'm not trying to sound harsh about that, but those are the facts. We have theft. We never had before. People walk around our neighborhood that are on drugs. I've called the police several times, ask me where I live, and they make the comment, well, you live in a bad area. It wasn't like that when I moved here. My concerns is that our home value, I've worked for 33 years to pay my house off, is more value than these houses new. And I'm scared it's going to devalue my home, and it will. because when they're new, it'll be nice. Anything new is nice, but they probably will not be maintained like a regular home, my opinion. And the other concern I have is Donnie mentioned it as well. I came over here to the meeting and stuff about Scott Lane. There's a turn in Scott Lane. It is a very sharp turn. There's wrecks there all the time. And I had a lot of signatures. I had over 300 people's signatures to put a guardrail up there and a light so they could see. Could not get that done. A light. They did put some signs up, turn signs and stuff, but we still have accidents there, okay? And you're going to introduce 14 more homes, 14 more cars. In Scott Lane, where it comes out where the Dairy Queen is and stuff, it's a very congested area. It's a bad area, and I know you guys have, I'm pretty sure you guys have in the works to make that 3-lane from Kmart all the way down to Tays Valley Hardware. Is that true?
It's a state road, sir, so we wouldn't have any.
So you wouldn't know? Okay. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but there definitely needs to be something done with the traffic. But my concern is what's going to happen after they leave? What are we going to have to deal with and stuff, It's the human factor. I've had to deal with the drugs. I've had to deal with people trying to break in my house and my cars from behind, the railroad tracks. And it's not fun to deal with, So I hope you guys think about this, I don't know. I've never seen these type of homes right here. The only thing I heard was modulars going in. So I do feel better about the type of home they're going to build. But I'm not for it. I'd rather have 6 stick-built homes in that area than 14 modulars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pugh. Any comments from Mr. Pugh? Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
My name's Gary Creed. I have a business on Scott Lane that borders this property. I've been there 42 years. My concern is when I first heard there was going to be double wide or single wide trailers going in there. Yeah, it's a little better what they're doing modular, but still I think it will devalue the value of property around there. The problem I have, concern is people moving in there, and I have a lot of noise there. I sell a lot of garden equipment, and I have a lot of noise there, and people complain about noise if they live right next to me. Plus also, if they have kids running around there, I have a lot of equipment there that they can climb on and get hurt on. I mean, that's just a big concern of mine, and if it just adds more traffic on that Scott Lane that we don't need anymore. Yeah, I have big trucks that block the one lane of the traffic, which I direct traffic a lot of times. I used to be on the fire department for 20 years. But that's just my biggest concern is the devaluing property around there, adding more headache, more traffic. I mean, you're going to have 14 homes, most houses have 2 cars. That's 28 more cars. So that's my biggest concern, is just the valuation of property and traffic and security. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any comments from Mr. Creed?
Can I respond to a couple of things there?
Yes, sir.
So just the biggest concerns I hear are devaluing the property. It's Scott Lane, Scott Acres, those subdivisions. There's a lot of houses in there under $200,000 or in that range. I think our houses are going to appraise higher or just as high as any of those. I hear that concern. I understand it. I know that people hear Clayton Homes and mobile homes, and they have they're thinking back 30 years. It's not the same thing. And I know Camelot. I know what you're talking about. That place is, my mom lives right there. We're not going to do that to you guys. Please understand. I get that. I really do. It's not our intention. And then the other one is traffic. I mean, this subdivision is going to be within 100 yards of the school. The biggest concerns in the morning, I mean, there's no way for me to know this, but of course, 14 people are not gonna have 14 kids going to elementary school. And a lot of those kids are probably gonna walk, I mean, with their parents. It's not gonna put 20, 30, 40 cars on the road during rush hour in the morning. So I don't think that's gonna be the biggest concern either, but mostly, I just want people to understand, we're not gonna devalue it. And people keep saying, what's gonna happen when they leave? I'm not gonna leave, I live in Putnam County. I've lived here my whole life. I mean, I'm not leaving. I don't wanna do anything to hurt that road. Like I said, my family lives out there. So I understand the concern, and as far as your business, Mr. Creed and Noyes, we are gonna build a fence along the property line to separate our subdivision from your business. We don't want people wandering over there any more than you want people wandering over there. So, and I'll work with you on that. I mean, you've known my family forever. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I'm actually here for another reason, but just because realtors and brokers were called out, and I feel I can speak on the
Can you
value.
give
of
us your
these
name
homes.
and address,
Heather
please?
Hiley. Thank you, sorry. So I'm Heather Hiley Bus Realty and Seamless Real Estate. I am a real estate broker of both companies for almost 13 years, and I can speak to the issues that we have with this type of housing. We already had one of these neighborhoods off of Route 60, and I can't think of the name now, but I will tell you, modulars do not increase property values around them. When they are brought in and there's already drywall intact, when those walls are moved and they're set on foundation, those houses have major cracking. They're very hard for us to sell. They do have the stigma of being a double wide. And so my question with this is we need housing. Trust me, I don't want to turn down any type of development opportunity for neighborhoods because I need houses to sell. We need more families in Putnam County with places to live. But my problem is if they say, we're going to build this subdivision, what's to say that they're going to realize that people aren't going to want to pay $300,000 for a modular Clayton home? So then they're going to resort to putting single wides and double wides. And that's what we had happen with one of the previous developments. So if this is truly for modular homes and not manufactured homes, will you back that up and put a covenant restriction in this that says that that's not what's going in? Because that's what we've been told before with these subdivisions, and they are terrible subdivisions. I'm not worried about flooding. I know that between David, Melissa, and you guys, I know personally the flooding issues will absolutely be addressed. They will absolutely be taken care of. They do a phenomenal job. I know this firsthand. They will do a phenomenal job of that. That's not a concern. And everybody's saying, oh, the meeting is right before Thanksgiving, and they shouldn't have done that. These meetings are set a year in advance, and it's the same Tuesday of the month. So whether that falls before a holiday a couple days or not, that's not their fault. So it's not fair for everybody to keep, blaming that on them. The meeting is what it is. I mean, you have the best engineer. Randolph is actually who I've hired, and that's who has my issue right now. So the flooding, I don't think, is an issue. That will have to be addressed, and it'll have to be addressed the appropriate way. My issue is, are these truly going to be modulars which are hard enough to sell? Or are you guys going to realize that modulars really don't work in this area? If people are going to build a home, they're going to want two things. They're going to want a double wide because it's cheap, or they're going to build a stick built and actually spend the money. We just don't have the demographic that's going to say, I want to build a house, but I want to do it as cheap as possible, and they're going to spend what they could spend on a stick built to build that. So would you be willing to put a covenant restriction in this to say this isn't a trailer park?
We have all intentions. Our restrictions, we're going to have an HOA develop.
But intentions and what's actually with the land are two things.
We're going to put it in the HOA. It has to be all very modular home. It cannot be double wide, cannot be single wide. It's going to have a minimum roof pitch so that it's no, roof like this, it's going to be a roof. It's going to be required to have a garage. It's going to be required to all concrete, sidewalks, driveways, a covered front porch, and a back porch. Those are going to be required to put a house in there, period.
Right, and I understand that, but that has nothing to do with voting this in. You guys can put that in the HOA after this. This is just, is this subdivision going to be allowed at all? My issue with this is I know what Clayton Homes has done to our real estate market historically. and it's obviously not you guys, but they say that interest rates are the same for these homes. It's not. Modular and manufactured do have a higher interest rate. We do see a higher rate of foreclosure. We do unfortunately see that these homes do not hold up as a regular stick-built. And that's why these neighborhoods, they look all great in the beginning, and then in 15, 20 years, we can't sell them and they become problems. So just take that into consideration, because this is, I want more houses, trust me. But I've seen this neighborhood that was promised before, and if you go look at it, it's off of Route 60. It is an absolute nightmare. It's right off Route 60, and I can't think of I actually text one of my agents that sold a property in there. But it's the same thing. It was the same vision. We're gonna put, modular homes in there. It's gonna be great. And it is one of the worst neighborhoods in our county.
Unfortunately, what happens to us is individuals go out and buy property, and then they start putting up homes. That's not on us. Like, we didn't do that.
Right. But if the covenants are not laying with this land already, then that can be.
And let me go ahead and speak up real quick. We're at your 5 minutes,
okay.
so
Thank
we
you.
do appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Can I ask her something? She's an expert.
Can you come up to the microphone, ma'am, please? Thank you.
You're an expert on sell houses. In what areas have you found that affordable housing has always upped the property value around it? It doesn't. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other comments?
Yeah. I need to come up there.
Yes, you do, please. We need you on the mic. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm Ed Pugh. I appreciate your comments. You pointed out a real important thing. What I was trying to say is once they're built, then we're stuck with them. Those are the problems you deal with. And I hope you guys don't sacrifice I hope you don't sacrifice the community over there and allow this to happen, because I think it's a mistake. Like I said, I'd rather have 6 stick-built houses and somebody will pay for them than have 14 modulars, because what's going to happen down the road. But I think that's a very good comment you made. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional comments? We'll go ahead and close the public comments.
I think you had one saying, Mr. Brody.
Oh, yes, excuse me, sir. Mr. Randolph, go ahead and come on up and touch on the retention, please.
Regarding hydraulics are addressed. I'm sorry. Okay, so, you live in the vicinity?
This is me right here, control, main break.
Okay.
And if you walk your right down, you can stand in water because it's flooded at this moment.
This is the one spot right here. And I think you, ma'am,
I'm
you
in the
probably
lowest.
have a house right down here somewhere.
No, back here.
Right there.
Yeah, it was all the way back.
All right, so to address the hydraulics issues, when we look at hydraulics for the subdivision, we're not just looking at this strip of land. We're looking at this strip of land, the center line of Tays Valley Road, all the way back to Creek, all the way down to Scotland, everything, every drop of water that drains onto this property, we look at that. Now, we could get by with saying, okay, well, we're just addressing our area, but we are concerned with the drainage here, the drainage issues in the
here. This
underground pipe that runs right down here that all water goes to, and that's what I'm trying to say, is it's not currently keeping up. I'm a little stressed, let's try to keep it.
But with respect to the amount of water that's entering the area, here right now,
I realize that we're done to say, this is how much water's coming, this is how much there is. We see that.
We have a drainage design right here.
But is there a hydraulic study done to say, this is, you know, what we expect to come in the next 10 years, this is how much water there is? Because right now, we're flooding, and I can't imagine losing the field to stop flooding.
We have about another minute to touch on the drainage too, please, just to keep things moving. Thank you.
Okay, so the summary report, there's a lot of stuff behind there, but this is the summary. And the summary is essentially in a 2-year storm, existing condition, it's 2.126 CF, I'm sorry, existing condition is 9.909%. When you look at the amount of water that's generated to the 2, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storms, we're well below that in every case of the entire development. Look at the watershed, just this year. There's a 2-year storm. There's what we're allowing for the 10-year storm. You're going to have to be a 50-year storm to exceed it doesn't show this.
Yep.
Showing that it's a problem right now, so it may not show the additional problem because there hasn't been geological studies to show that. That's not.
So we're at the time limit. Just for the good of the group, if you weren't able to hear from what I heard, you know, the 10-year, you know, rain storm is being improved to a 2-year low, right? Is that correct?
We've exceeded that, and we've gone beyond that for the purposes of their development.
I got one question though. All the water there that you're talking about from the road, the houses and everything is draining not into the storm drains of the road or where? Where are they exiting at?
No, everything in this block, we've got a high point right here in the field, it's going there.
What is that?
It's just a little low spot that has.
So it's just going into the ground?
No, it's going into a little pipe that's in the ground. Whoever rolled clay pipe into an existing ditch.
I can tell you this, they just, I was told it was a glorified alley they built from Scott Lane right there, and they put the drainage in, and there's drainage in, and they did a nice job. When you get a heavy rain, those drains do not keep up, and they're pretty big.
And that's with the field absorbing.
I mean, I'm just going by what I see.
We take into account the impervious area prior to all. Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
I got a question. I live on Hammock Oak Court. There's about 20 houses in there. I live right close to Scott Lane. I'm about 20 yards off of Scott Lane. But the house down at the end of Hammock Oak Court, they got a lake down there. They got a lake down there. Now, the water coming from what y'all gonna build, is it gonna come down towards my property?
I'm not familiar with, I'm not really sure.
If you go down Hammock Oak and talk to Lady down there at the end of Hammock Oak, and she'll tell you, we had a meeting, we don't have a homeowner association for 15 years, So we just finally started one, because she said she's afraid of that water down there. And we're about, well, Hammond Cove's not too far from where y'all are gonna build. And I just don't want, if you get more water down through there, it's gonna flood out about 3 houses. Unless that water goes the right way. If it comes down towards Hammond Cove, we're gonna have problems.
It's the same water, it's just detained to enter your watershed a little slower. Okay, so it's, rather than pouring out a Dixie cup in the, onto the floor here, I'm poking a hole. I'm filling up the Dixie cup, poking a hole in the bottom, and it's kind of peeing on the floor a little bit at a time. That's what detention is. So it's just slowing the water downstream as far as the volume. It doesn't change the volume, it just slows it down.
Right now when it rains, 2 doors down from me, there was a trailer. And his water's coming on the gutters, coming down through his backyard. He moved. And it's still doing the same thing.
Right.
So when you build a house, you know, and the water's just running on the ground, it's gonna go someplace. But I'm just telling you, they got a lake down there behind these houses right now, and they're worried about it. And they don't know anything about what's going on here.
Thank you, guys. We need to continue on. The gentleman in the blue shirt, I believe you had your hand up. Did you have a comment? Yes, Jim, go ahead.
About the water flow and the changing, you made an important point, Mr. Randolph, just a minute ago. I wanted to kind of expand on that a little bit and let you folks know that you do have recourse. If the water flooding is made worse by this construction, you do have recourse. Because the law in West Virginia is that while they're under no requirement to make it better, okay? And he mentioned it's not going to change the amount of the water. They can't make it worse, all right? So if as a result of the construction, it is made worse, you do have recourse, okay? You can file a lawsuit, and hire a lawyer and go through all that. But I want to make sure everybody's aware of the fact that they're not required to make it better, okay? They just can't make it worse. And what Mr. Randolph's saying is, the way they're designing it, the drainage, and he's studied this, it's not going to make it worse. It might actually help it. Like you talked about poking a hole in Dixie cup and having the water come out a little slower. It'll slow the flow so that hopefully it won't get flooded out. But if all that fails and ultimately it's made worse, then you do have recourse.
Thank you, Jim. Good. Your name and address, please.
All right. My name's Mike Litton, 48 Jordan Edition. I don't have a whole lot to add. I know my wife covered most of my concerns and these ladies. But the water, I still don't understand what he's saying. It's going to go down in a little hole. The water runs underneath the dirt like an underground spring into my yard now. So it's not just runoff water. I mean, well, I don't know. It'll run for 2 weeks after a big hard rain. So I don't know. And all I heard him, how many times he said these houses are going to be concreted down. I mean, you can concrete any trailer down and it's still a trailer. But I have one question for each one of you. Would you like to have this in your backyard? I hope you say no. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments from the public? Okay, so we will close the public comments portion. The next item would be to obviously have some deliberation, any comments from the commission. And then our actions would be to, one, to motion to classify this as a major subdivision, and then we have to have facts to support that motion. So are there any comments or opinions of any members?
I have a quick question for staff, and forgive my ignorance, but approving this, if it were to change to a mobile home park, that would be a change as well, right? That would be brought before the commission? So this is, it's not a mobile home park.
Well, that's correct. First of all, the zoning allows for a specific size home, and anything smaller than that is not allowed in this zoning district. That's one thing. Another thing is the declaration of covenants, which are produced by the developer, go on record. And, that dictates the type of construction that will be in the development, as well as the resolution. If this is passed tonight, that the president will sign, and the developer will sign.
They have to have those things in place.
That's correct.
Following up on that, can we put that in the resolution? In other words, the resolution I'm looking at talks about manufactured homes, et cetera. But can we insert into the resolution a prohibition on mobile homes? In other words, question, are these homes considered manufactured, or are these considered something different?
There's a big difference, and by all means, somebody jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a big difference between on-frame and off-frame.
Right.
And he said a key word, off-frame modulars, for all intents and purposes, should be considered stick-built homes. Whether or not from a lending perspective or insurance perspective, it is.
I own 3 homes like this. I own 3 homes like that. We're talking about off-frame homes. A large portion of Hurricane back in the 60s and early 70s was this type of home. It was actually manufactured locally, brought in with a crane and set up. Same idea. But I own 3 homes, and they haven't been hurt by any kind of drop, but it is in fact off of a frame. It came on a truck. Old neighborhood that I live in the back part
The house that was built across the street from mine was a huge, big home. It was brought in 3 or 4 flatbeds.
But I think that is the big distinguishing factor, on-frame or off.
I can tell you that when a applicant comes in our office and they tell us that they have a modular, we have to permit it as a single-family home, not a manufactured home.
I was just wondering if we could legally, to allay the fears of anyone might have that, eventually this is they're gonna end up bringing single wides or double wides in there. We could put something like that in the resolution.
In the R2 zoning language, the size home is considered a Class A home. And a Class A home is 20 feet, has to be a minimum of 20 feet wide by 40 feet long. And there is a list of criteria relative to a Class A home. And number 1 is the size that I just said. Number 2 is all single-family homes are required to have a perimeter enclosure of masonry and/or concrete from the sill to the ground. So that is the type of home that is allowed in this zoning district.
It's gotta be sitting on a concrete foundation, not skirting.
Correct.
I think the point is it's not a titled home, right? It wouldn't be coming with a title. It's a deeded home because it attaches to the land.
Because mobile homes, double wides and single wides have titles for the DMV,
Exactly.
not deeds.
I own 1 double wide too, so and it has a.
Yeah, and the zoning language goes on to dictate, that the structure must have a pitched roof. The type of materials relative to the exterior.
So the resolution that we're considering would include all that, right? Class A.
I'm sure.
Looks like item number 7.
Well, number 7 is the conduit, that's the conduit language. doesn't specifically say that in the resolution, but that, I mean, if that's something that the board wants to put a condition on the resolution, I don't see why that's something that you.
So I guess the question, obviously, this major subdivision is going to fall in R2 mixed residential. What you just stated is from R2 mixed residential, right? So it sounds to me like it would be covered.
We're not going to get a permit from our office for anything outside of.
Other than what's listed within that district, right?
So, I mean, if it doesn't meet this Class A requirements for the zoning district, there would be no permit.
Jim, I would say we probably don't need to add that since it's going to be covered, by the zoning requirements. Are there any additional comments from any members? Okay, so the first action would be for a motion to classify this as a major subdivision.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item would be a motion to approve or deny the major subdivision with or without conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve it without conditions.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then the last item would be for the review and approval of or denial of the resolution. Is there a motion to approve or deny the resolution? I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so moving on the agenda, I would like to say thank you for everyone for coming out and voicing your opinions. The next item on the agenda is text amendment 2023-06. Are there any disclosures of conflict? Thank you, Glenn.
Okay.
This amendment, proposed text amendment, is 05A on your iPads. This is a proposed text amendment 2023-06 to expand upon the definition of recreation commercial. This definition can be found in Article 150.02, definition of terms of the zoning ordinance for the zoned unincorporated areas of Putnam County. Mr. Mills, the president of the Putnam County Planning Commission, applied for this text amendment to amend Article 150.02, definition of terms of the zoning ordinance for the zoned unincorporated areas of Putnam County. The existing definition of recreation commercial, or commercial recreation, as it's more commonly referred to, commercial recreation is land or facilities operated as a business and which is open to the public for a fee that shall include, but is not limited to, water parks, rollerblade rental, billiard parlors, video amusement arcades, ski areas, pay-to-play athletic fields, golf courses, miniature golf courses, driving ranges, ice skating rinks, batting cages, or swimming pools. That was the existing definition as it is currently listed in the zoning ordinance. The proposed definition of recreation commercial is the following. Commercial recreation is land or facilities operated as a business and which is open to the public for a fee or membership that shall include, but is not limited to, water parks, rollerblade rental, billiard parlors, video amusement arcades, ski areas, pay-to-play athletic fields, golf courses, miniature golf courses, driving range, indoor gun ranges, ice skating rinks, batting cages, or swimming pools. The definition of indoor gun range, AKA shooting range, as defined by West Virginia State Code 61-6-23, shooting range, limitations on nuisance actions, noise ordinances. Shooting range means an area, whether indoor or outdoor, designed and operated for the use of rifles, shotguns, pistols, silhouettes, skeet, trap, black powder, or any other similar shooting. That is from West Virginia State Code. Facts that need to be determined relative to this proposed text amendment is the proposed amendment will protect and promote public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare. The governing body, with the advice of the Planning Commission, must find that the amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and ordinances. If the amendment is found to be inconsistent, the governing body, with the advice of the Planning Commission, must find that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved, which were not anticipated when the comprehensive plan was adopted, and those changes have substantially altered the basic characteristics of the area. Facts relative to this proposed amendment: on September 29th, 2023, Mr. Mills, President of the Putnam County Planning Commission, applied for a text amendment to amend Article 150.02 of the zoning ordinance of the zoned unincorporated areas of Putnam County. That is Attachment A in your packet with the disclosure statement. A legal advertisement describing the proposed text amendment was published in the Hurricane Breeze on Thursday, October 26th, 2023, advising the public of tonight's meeting, and that is Attachment B. And at the end of your packet, and also in front of you, you will see a worksheet with facts that need to be determined relative to this text amendment, proposed text amendment.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yes, sir.
Is there any questions or comments for staff? I'll go ahead and just make some comments in terms of, how did we get here? There has been potentially some interest in an indoor gun range in Putnam County, and after discussion with staff, we didn't believe that the proposed definition of recreation commercial had any restrictions as it related to indoor gun ranges as being a permitted use. However, in order to avoid any potential conflicts or arguments, the proposed additions were added just to be, for clarity purposes, and be clear. So I'll just go ahead and make those comments, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have 100% confidence in Mr. Davis. So that's a good call on that. We do need to clarify.
Thank you. And one additional item too, and David and I spoke about this, there will be additional work as it relates to the specifics within the definition of indoor gun range. We do not have that yet, but we obviously will work on that to get those added in terms of noise, type of build, restrictions, et cetera. Okay,
We discussed hammering that out within the ordinance review subcommittee session.
Are there any additional comments?
not limited to, probably would include the indoor gun ranges, but I agree, this obviously makes it very specific and clear. I would suggest to try to keep this in line with state law, that possibly consider changing indoor gun range and indoor shooting range. State code references shooting range and not gun range, that's my suggestion.
Yeah, and I would agree. I know in times past, keeping things consistent is obviously a good thing. So if we can change the definition, strike out gun and replace with shooting, or to read indoor shooting ranges, I would agree that that would be a good change.
Question is there any distinction between indoor and outdoor shooting range? I mean, as far as state code?
Well, according to code, oddly enough, no. The definition for shooting range is, shooting range means an area, whether indoor or outdoor, designed and operated for the use of rifles, shotguns, pistols, silhouettes, skeet, trap, black powder, and any other similar shooting. So it says either, whether indoor or outdoor.
Any other comments or questions?
Do we need to define an outdoor range separately from indoor?
Address this.
There could come a time in the future where somebody says, well, what about an outdoor shooting range? It doesn't look like it, so if we mention it, that's the trouble, the potential problem we run into if we start making too many specifics. What if someone wants an indoor archery? Or what if someone wants to do that, I see it on TV more and more, where they do the drone races inside warehouses, things like that. I mean, the list could be endless.
I have a question. You were talking about hammering out certain specifics in the subcommittee as related to indoor gun ranges. If we were ignoring everything else that Jim was talking about, if we were to approve this today, between the time that we approved this and the time that the subcommittee came, somebody then come in and get an indoor gun range approved without any of the specifics that we want to put in? Should we wait to approve this until we've got the specifics hammered out?
There could be a gray area there.
Yeah.
The old saying goes, park in front of the horse? Yes. Yes. Park in front of the horse.
I agree with that in some language. I just want to make sure that we do it in a way that we're going to make sure we put up all the safety protocols and things.
It's called a CYA, I think, right? Okay. No, and Jacob does bring up a good point. Having, a full packet probably is merited and, could, keep some hindrance from the planning department. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to table this until the ordinance subcommittee is able to fully define the scope of indoor shooting range. Okay, is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next item on the agenda is text amendment 2023-07.
Yes, and that is on your tablet. That is a 05B file. This is proposed text amendment 2023-07, which is a proposed addition of Article 1200.06 titled Mandatory Legal Description. To clarify, this is a clarification to the ordinance relative to standard operating procedure that has been in place for quite some time, certainly since I've been here with the county. But this specific issue has not been clearly spelled out in the subdivision regs. This would be titled addition to Article 1200.06, mandatory legal descriptions. Again, Mr. Mills, President of the Planning Commission, applied for this text amendment to Article 1200.06, mandatory legal description in the Putnam County subdivision regulations. Zoning ordinance article proposed to be added to the subregs would be 1200.06, mandatory legal description. All plats submitted to the Office of Planning and Infrastructure for review prior to approval and recordation shall be accompanied by a legal description prepared by a licensed surveyor, including applicable metes and bounds relative to the subject parcel or parcels. Definition of plat relative to this discussion, I think the best definition is from landcentral.com. A map drawn to scale showing parcels of land. The maps are drawn by a licensed surveyor who will then record the approved plat map with a county governing body. With each parcel comes a legal description. A legal description describes a specific piece of land known as real property. West Virginia State Code 36B-2109, plats and plans, uses the term legally sufficient description clearly 3 times in this section, Section B, numbers 1 through 11. Also, West Virginia State Code 30-13A-18, minimum standards for boundary surveys, states a description shall be prepared for each boundary survey and shall be provided to the client. A description shall include state, county, district, or municipality and watershed or topographic location. Lots and block numbers shall be shown for new platted subdivisions. Retracement surveys for lots and other surveys shall require a metes and bounds description. The description shall also include the point of beginning, the description of monumentation of each corner and objects encountered along the line, the length and direction of each line, and the radius, chord bearing, and distance of a curved boundary. Facts that need to be determined. The proposed text amendment will protect and promote public health, safety, convenience, moral, and general welfare. The Planning Commission must find that the proposed text amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and ordinances. If the proposed text amendment is inconsistent, the Planning Commission must find that there have been major changes of an economic, physical, or social nature within the area involved which were not anticipated when the comprehensive plan was adopted, and those changes have substantially altered the basic characteristic of the area. This was applied for on October 4th of 2023. You can see the application's attachment A was advertised in the Hurricane Breeze on Thursday, October 26th, relative to tonight's meeting. And there is a worksheet on the tablet and also in front of you relative to this.
Thank you, David.
Yes.
Anyone from the public have any comments? We'll go ahead and close the public portion, then just move into, discussion amongst the group here. Go ahead, Jim.
Suggesting either way, but should we include, after the words licensed surveyor, include or engineer, since some meets and bounds restrictions are drafted by engineers, it may not necessarily be a surveyor. Just an idea, just a thought. I don't want to leave out anybody. You don't need a survey, an engineer is capable of doing it, doing the meets and bounds.
Dave, do you have an opinion on that?
I don't know that don't think would hurt a thing, to add that for sure. Now, as far as a plat comes in, it requires to be signed and sealed and stamped by a licensed surveyor. Engineering drawings such as drainage and things like that, they can't be stamped and signed and sealed by a surveyor. They have to be stamped and signed and sealed by a practicing engineer, professional engineer. But I would see no problem adding that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, plats are stamped and sealed.
You answered my question.
Okay,
I was going outside of plats. This just deals with plats.
just plats.
All right, I'm good.
Okay. Any other comments? Excuse me. Go ahead. We're going to the worksheet. All right, so the first criteria on the worksheet, will the proposed amendment protect and promote public health, safety, convenience, morals, and general welfare? Anyone have an opinion?
I say yes, because you're giving direction to staff and to the public, and keeping ordinances in order.
Any additional opinions? All those in favor of criteria 1 being yes signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is the next criteria, is the amendment consistent in achieving the objectives of the adopted comprehensive plan, US 35 corridor management plan, and the Tays Valley land use plan? Any opinions?
Yes, it merely puts in the writing, black and white, what is the procedure as it has been for years anyway, so I think it obviously promotes the objectives of the comprehensive plan.
Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Can someone go ahead and make a motion to propose the amendment for the county commission? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 10 is actually being removed. David let me know before we started that West Virginia State Code actually requires certified mail. So we're not going to be able to save the county money, so we have to stick with certified mail for notices. Okay, item number 11.
Okay, the next item will be the second reading of the proposed amendment to the Planning Commission bylaws relative to the start time of our meeting, of our monthly meeting. And I'll go ahead and read this now. This will be the second reading. If you choose to revise your bylaws accordingly, then you can motion second and approve this proposed amendment. It starts on with Article 3, Meetings, Section 1, Regular Meeting. The regular meeting of the Planning Commission shall be held on the fourth Thursday of each month at 6 p.m., except in December, in a place and at a time designated by the Commission. In the event that the fourth Thursday of the month shall fall on a holiday or any other day when the Putnam County Courthouse will be closed, the regular meeting of the month shall be held on the third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. So again, this is the second reading. If you are amenable to changing the meeting time from 7 to 6, then
Do we make a motion?
you can make a motion to do so. And which will be reflected in the minutes, which will be enough for us to edit the bylaws accordingly.
In light of the fact that we would be out, it would only be 8:30 right now, I so move.
Is there a second?
Second, yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Staff report?
Okay, so it's on your tablets, that'll be the next, be 07A. If we look at the monthly report, to sum all this up, so far through October, we've issued a total of 244 permits, which obviously through the first 10 months, that averages 24.4 permits per month. Going at this rate, unless we have a decline in, precipitous decline in November and December, we're on track to do over 290 permits for 2023. So far in 2023, we've permitted, in the first 10 months, we've permitted 99 new homes, which is basically 10 per month. You know, again, we're on track to do about 118 homes this year, if November and December are kind to us. Commercially, through October, we permitted 45, 45 so far, which is obviously 4.5 per month. So we're on track for about 54 commercial permits for 2023. As far as plats are concerned, we've reviewed and approved 111 plats in the first 10 months. That's 11.1 plats per month, obviously. So we're on track for 133 plats for 2022, which is certainly in line with what we did last year. And then as far, if you go to the next file on your tablet, over the last 10 years through October, we've averaged 229.7 permits at this time, which is basically 23 permits per month. So far this year, we're at 244 permits through October. So we're roughly 6% ahead of our 10-year average as far as issuing permits in 2023. The next page is the permit status report. You'll see there are only 2 permits outstanding at this time. The EV charging station at the Pilot Center in Nitro, folks were last contacted on the 20th relative to the status of the information we were waiting on, and also the Casey Logistics truck terminal in Buffalo. They were last contacted by our office on the 14th relative to the Buffalo engineers review.
Any questions for staff?
Point out, it looks like from the permit status report, you guys are doing a good job of keeping up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we are certainly trying. Got a good staff here, good bunch. We have a financial report here. We have a fiscal report for the first 4 months of the year, which is the next file on your iPad. So far, through the first 4 months of the fiscal year, we've outlaid $126,741, which is 29.5% of our budget. If we stay at this rate and don't have any unexpected expense, which should leave us with a handsome surplus at the end of the fiscal year. Through the first 4 months of the fiscal year, we have taken in $24,413. And if we stay at this rate, we will, at the end of the fiscal year, we should take in approximately $73,000, which is well above the last 10-year fiscal year average. Over the last 10 years, we've averaged an intake of 58,000. So if we continue at this rate, we will eclipse that by about 23%.
That's a job well done.
And then also there's a calendar year financial report on the next page. Again, very similar numbers. We've taken in year-to-date, calendar year, we've taken in 63,158. So we are on track to take in 75,000 plus for the calendar year, which again is well above the previous 10-year average.
So it looks like you guys make a bank run once a week then on checks? Is it what it's about once a week when you guys?
Yeah, Miss Denise does a good job with all that.
Yeah.
All right, the next, if you're ready for the next item, this will just briefly, we'll be able to get out of here. We wanted to give you guys an update on what the office is doing relative to the comprehensive plan update for 2024. I'm going to read a brief statement. The Office of Planning and Infrastructure is in the process of updating the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan document for the year 2024 and beyond. West Virginia Code dictates that the plan be updated every 10 years. The comprehensive plan document was last updated in 2014. The comprehensive plan document presents a narrative of the current conditions of Putnam County. This narrative showcases both the areas in which Putnam County has excelled and issues that could be improved upon. The plan provides guidance for decision-making by highlighting community goals. Each section offers actions for achieving the community vision. The comprehensive plan is a tool to help facilitate the achievement of the community goal of continuing the vision of improving quality of life to make Putnam County a better place to live, work, and play. To update the plan for 2024 and beyond, this office is soliciting comments from residents of the county. The following are topics of inquiry relative to the public's level of satisfaction regarding growth the county has experienced in the past 10 years, the county's transportation infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, public transit, the county's utility infrastructure, AKA water, sewer, internet, gas, the quality of life in the county's public safety services, such as Sheriff's Department, EMS, fire, the economic development the county has experienced in the last 10 years. We are using Putnam County's new website, and more specifically, this office's individual page to obtain opinions and priorities from the residency via a user-friendly public input questionnaire. The questionnaire can be accessed via a link on the county's new website, which allows the user to answer the questions posed above in a ranking system, with 1 being very dissatisfied and 5 being very satisfied. There is a comment section that accompanies each question so that the participant can expand upon their rankings with specific statements. The Office of Planning and Infrastructure encourages each resident of Putnam County to make their voices heard by visiting www.putnamcountywv.gov. From the county's landing page, you can access this office's specific page where the public input questionnaire can be quickly and easily completed. Your rankings and specific comments will be tabulated relative to each question and forwarded to our office for review. Our goal is to update the county's comprehensive plan for 2024 and beyond, with emphasis on the citizenry's opinions and priorities. So I would certainly urge each of you to visit our page and fill out that questionnaire, and urge anyone else to do so as well.
How are you guys notifying anyone in the county? Do they have to know to go to the webpage?
Well, we are in the process of putting up flyers just about everywhere. We have a huge list of flyers. I mean, they're everywhere when you come in.
Fingers crossed you get good feedback.
We're soliciting.
Good or bad feedback, any feedback.
Yeah, we're soliciting, the mayors of the municipalities even to get involved with, in their meetings. You guys, BZA, of course, we'll mention this at the county commission as well. So we want to get it out to as many people, to get as much traffic to the website, to fill out the questionnaire as we can, to get as much input from the citizens as possible.
Okay. Thank you. A lot of good work. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business.
As far as I'm aware of.
New business, I would say the only new business is we'll need to schedule an ordinance committee meeting to address the definition for indoor shooting range. Then next item would be motion for adjournment. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, guys.
It really is past my bedtime.
Sears home?
Is there any change from what's already been provided?
You've got the document, it's part of it. Even the legislature has to read every bill.
Have a fun with your votes.
I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
Thanksgiving, because they have the largest house. They have the largest house in the world.
Oh, well, fantastic.
That they are,
That's awesome. But it's their first year, so yeah, absolutely. There was a lady on the, popped up the other day, someone you may know, and her name is, there's no legal requirement on.
Read the caption.
None of it.
Give us a summary.
That's what
Make a motion to dispense with the reading of the entire. You read the caption.
Maybe we'll do that next. Oh, yeah.
That's a good thought. It's one of the,
Statement.
Larry,
Yeah.
an opinion on whether we have to read the
Yeah,
entire
oh.
daggone. No.
I thought about myself. Yeah.
Read the caption.
I thought I did.
Does this go in there too?